Welcome to a Cristiano Ronaldo transfer special. The Real Madrid superstar has been linked with a blockbuster move to Juventus this summer, and we're here to dissect all the details on what could be the transfer of the summer. So he's been linked with a €30 million deal per year on a 4-year contract at Real Madrid, Juventus, which would be incredible amount of money to earn, wouldn't it? Not bad at all. Yeah. Our Juventus correspondents Romeo Agresti and our Real Madrid correspondent Alberto Pinheiro have been all across this, and they understand that the deal is alarmingly close to being complete. It seems like Juventus and Real Madrid haven't exactly talked it out yet. No. There's still a bit of a way to go in that respect. But it certainly seems like it's something that really could happen, couldn't it?
Absolutely, which seems kind of unrealistic for a long point, and then it's come along very quickly in a very short period of time. And obviously, as you were saying, Miles, there's no fee agreed yet, I don't think, publicly, which could be a stopping point. But ultimately, he's a 33-year-old. You know, how much of that is going to be an issue in reality if it's the difference between 100 million and 120 million for a player like Ronaldo, who, as I've just said, is 33. There's no sell-on value, but ultimately there's a huge, obviously, marketing and PR implication behind that.
He's the most popular footballer in the world.
Yeah, signing him for 100 million or 120 million, that's not going to break the bank for a club like Juventus that have been the most successful Italian club in the last kind of decade, won everything domestically and done better than anyone else in the Champions League, which means that financially they're probably head and shoulders above almost anyone else in their domestic league, and they're probably one of the few Italian clubs that are able to compete without outside money to sign massive players like Ronaldo.
And to win more Champions League
titles.
Absolutely,
Well, any Champions League titles would be a positive, wouldn't it, at the moment?
He's got, 5 Champions League titles so far? 1 with Man United, 4 with Real Madrid. He's had, 3 in a row now for Real Madrid. He's had on a bit of a golden streak. But you can clearly see that Juventus appeals to him. I mean, they played against Juventus earlier this season, and he was fantastic in the first leg in Turin, and he scored that brilliant overhead kick, didn't he?
For which he got a standing ovation from the Juventus crowd, which I think has kind of engendered him towards that and kind of garnered that nice, mutually respectful relationship, which I'm not saying that's the sole reason he's moving, but obviously if they were one of the clubs in the back of his mind when he was thinking about this towards the end of last season, because I can't imagine it's just a snap decision, it's something that he probably would have thought about, that kind of mutually beneficial relationship between the two and that mutual appreciation, I think it creates that nice warm glow around the club that perhaps he would want. And playing for Real Madrid, a lot of the fans that you go and play in front of are going to perceive you negatively, I think. So it would have been probably quite refreshing for him to go to a club that appreciates him for his talent, even when he was scoring against the team that they're there to support, which is a kind of weird phenomenon in the modern game. There's not many players that would get that kind of respect from an away support or a home support when they're playing away, in this case.
He almost joined them when he was younger, of course, when he was with Sporting before he signed for Man United. Seems a long time ago now. But he did nearly join them. The move fell through when a player was meant to go the other direction.
It sounds like there's some affinity there from his childhood as well, like Juventus being a big club when he was growing up and a club that he admired. So maybe, I'm not saying this has been the plan all along, but he's probably been more open to a move to Juventus than perhaps some other clubs that he's been linked with in the past.
Potentially, yeah. And why do you think it is that he's decided, I've had enough of Real Madrid? It's been an amazing 9 years. What do you think has brought on that on?
Part of it is he's been there, done it, and he's won everything. And I think for a guy like Ronaldo, who is probably one of the most motivated footballers in the world, he's not one to rest on his laurels at any point, and he's always striving to get better, which is part of the reason he's in such good shape, and he's not, let that side affect him. He doesn't look like a 33-year-old when you compare him to some other 33-year-olds that are basically retired at this point and playing in MLS or, various areas of the world where the football is much less competitive. Also, I think a fresh start is good occasionally, and I think they've been so dominant on the European stage, Real Madrid, that a fresh challenge is probably good for him. The money obviously is huge. He doesn't need the money basically. That's irrespective, I think.
It would still be a pay rise. I mean that's part of the reason why I think that he's been tempted by Juventus, not just by that whole. It definitely is appealing that he can have.
Of course, I don't think he'd go and play for them for less money than he's playing for at Real Madrid. But also, I think I'm not saying the relationship's broken down, but I think it's more frayed at Real Madrid than perhaps it's ever been. His comments after the Champions League final, for example, we wouldn't have seen that as much unless it was a stalling tactic for a new contract, which does happen.
It completely overshadowed it. I mean, at the end of that game, when he came out and said, I might not be here.
It's nice to have been in Madrid.
And that's all everyone was talking about. It in many senses, people thought of it as a little bit petty. You know, the way that he'd undermined. He hadn't really had a great game.
No.
He was a bit anonymous.
More to the point, how much was it because Bale had a great game?
That's what a lot of people
overshadowed him a little bit, and maybe a bruised ego on that front.
Maybe, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Maybe that was a key thing because he does like to be the centre of attention. But that's what makes him the player that he is. You can't have. I don't think you can have one without the other.
No, you don't. You don't get a player as talented as that without the ego.
I don't think so.
One and the same. But 450 goals in 438 games for Real Madrid, which is just phenomenal.
It's ludicrous.
That's more than one goal a game, which is just like, you know, over a short time period, like maybe in a loan spell, you can see that and think, oh, he's in the form of his life. But over 8 years, he didn't score fewer than 54 goals in a season. This first season, I think he scored 30 something, you know. But beyond that, it was between 54 goals and 69
But
goals.
I love that the first comment is 30 something being the lower end of the spectrum.
Exactly. The one off year he had.
But that's purely because of the astronomical levels that he's been able to perform at since. And obviously, we're privileged to watch him and Lionel Messi duke it out. I think at any other time in the footballing world, they would be the best players, stand out by a country mile. No one gets close to them.
Yeah.
And maybe that's a debate that we have season after season, and that dynamic will change slightly if the move to Juventus goes through. That moves them one step away from that comparison a little bit, apart from European games.
I think, as you said as well, Real Madrid are caught a little bit off guard by this, and they've sort of had half an eye on how they're going to progress. They've obviously lost Zidane, replaced him with Lopetegui. Looks like they're going to lose Ronaldo at this rate, and I think they sort of saw that coming, but they've obviously been planning for how do we change this Real Madrid team, which really hasn't been evolved in any sense since 2014.
No, not particularly.
They've really only added, you know, players who are coming in. Well, Asensio has broken through the ranks, but it wasn't a player.
There's not been a major acquisition.
No, not for 4 years.
Since Bale.
Not
really.
since Bale.
I guess like their last major Galactico, going back to that kind of element.
Kroos and James Rodriguez, I guess, in the 2014 summer. But I mean, they're clearly looking at how to evolve their team right now, and they've got one eye on Neymar.
Real Madrid love buying after World Cups, as you just said.
They're buying the World Cup
now
stars.
is the summer that they're going to thrive in the transfer market. Historically, that's what they've done. They've gone out and bought the best talent, and the way that those players, particularly Neymar and Mbappe, both having good World Cups. How much of that is thinking about the future as well? You know, as much as we've said Ronaldo being 33 is fantastic, do you give him a new contract? Because if you don't, he is going to want to leave, and then that leaves you with a succession plan that you need to put in place.
I think it could be healthy for Real Madrid.
Absolutely.
You know, rip that band-aid off, take his star away. Yeah, he's been incredible for Real Madrid, not taking anything at all away from what Ronaldo's done there. He's been one of the greatest players, you know, of all generations, really. But I think it will be good for them to start exploring who can be the next star.
And also who will be able to shine when they're out of Ronaldo's shadow. We talked about Bale and how impressive he was. I mean, to come off and
make a point
in that Champions League final like he did. How frustrated must a player like Gareth Bale be if he feels that his chances are being minimised because of the impact and the way that the team's set up around Cristiano Ronaldo and to get the best out of him? How many players like Isco, I mean Isco's been fantastic anyway, but Isco, Gareth Bale, Marcos Asensio coming through, how will those players be able to shine without that Ronaldo spotlight potentially being focused elsewhere? You know, Real Madrid aren't a one-man team.
No.
They're a winning machine, but they're not a one-man team, and there may be players who'll be better off at Real Madrid when Ronaldo isn't there. Maybe not in terms of results, because it's difficult to replace that 50-goal a season man, but Real Madrid will have a plan for that. And I guess one of the most interesting subplots to this, or side points, is how they go about replacing them, because Real Madrid don't do understated transfers normally.
No. They love a Galactico.
They love a Galactico, and they're going to want to go out, and every major player in every major league is going to be on red alert, I would imagine, if this transfer does come to fruition, because they're going to be on the hunt for someone, and money isn't really an issue.
No, not with Real Madrid. No, they'll find it.
They'll find it some way, right? I mean, they're not Qatari money or kind of Russian money, for example, where you can throw billions and billions at it. But that's what they've done season after season over time. And Real Madrid, being one of the biggest clubs in the world, will find the money to replace Ronaldo hook by hook or by crook.
Ronaldo's been quiet so far on all the transfer talk. I'm sure at some point he might say something. When something's maybe nearer a conclusion, we're not quite at that point yet where it seems like it's going to be signed, sealed and delivered, and we'll see him in a Juventus shirt. But Jorge Mendes, Ronaldo's agent, did come out with a statement yesterday where he said, if Cristiano leaves Real Madrid, he'll be eternally grateful to the club, the president, the whole team, the medical staff, The staff without exception, the supporters and all Madridistas around the world, which kind of feels a little bit like an Oscar speech or like a farewell message you send your email as you leave somewhere.
Put his out of office on.
It does feel very much like, even if he doesn't join Juventus, there is some club that could come in and swipe him away. And I think there are a few other options, aren't there, on the table?
I guess you wouldn't expect anything else from his agent. That's an agent's job, right? To stir up transfer speculation, to get those clubs that might be interested. But I always considered a move back to Manchester United to be on the table potentially, purely because he obviously made a name for himself there. Then left and did his best work at Real Madrid. Would he then go back to Old Trafford? But maybe it's the fresh challenge thing. He did win plenty with Manchester United, including the Champions League, including the Premier League. Maybe he thinks he doesn't have anything to prove to anyone, but maybe he thinks that's a path well trodden and it's best to go and try something different. But I'm sure this will only have encouraged offers from other big, wealthy clubs, teams, leagues, around the world that, as we've said, the money that we're talking about is astronomical here, but I'm sure there are players earning more in other countries that could potentially match or better what Juventus are offering. But I think it's just that middle ground between money, fresh challenge, and a club that he wanted to play for. Prestige is the right word. They're steeped in European history, one of the most recognisable teams in the world, and he will still get the kind of kudos for playing at the very top level when he's in the Champions League there, rather than being seen as an asterisk move, if you like, where you just go to take the money and you play at a much lower level. It doesn't strike me as something that he's ever going to do.
No, I don't think so. Certainly not at 33 years old.
No.
As you say,
he's
still in his peak and
towards
ambition.
The 2022 World Cup as well.
I think what would be interesting for me is if PSG come at Real Madrid and say, you know what, how about we do a swap? Neymar for Cristiano Ronaldo. Maybe some money involved either side.
Or Mbappe.
Maybe throw Mbappe in there. Real Madrid can toss in a few.
If I was Real Madrid, I'd be taking Mbappe right now.
Yeah.
A 19-year-old Mbappe who is having a breakthrough World Cup and looking like he could be the next superstar over a player that's already played for Barcelona. He is proven trouble. I don't think I'm overreaching when I'm saying he's a disruptive personality at times. Some of the way that he's handled his move to Paris, playing when he wants almost.
He's a bit of a diva.
He's a bit of a diva, and a lot of the best players are. I don't know about Mbappe. Maybe that's to come for him, and he's just working his way through. However, he's already the second most expensive player in the world. Mbappe, at 19, that tells you something about the potential that he's got. And if you're planning for the next decade, do you take a Neymar who we've probably started to see the best of, if not seen the best of already, or do you take a 19-year-old who has the world at his feet, to use an overused phrase, but he could be anything, and the signs are very, very good.
Yeah, I think I'd probably prefer to take Mbappe, but Real Madrid love a diva. They love a Galactico, and I don't think anybody spells Galactico quite like Neymar right now, other than Ronaldo.
I would imagine Neymar is a more appealing prospect from a marketing perspective, potentially.
Maybe
right
now
because he already has the profile.
Yeah.
Not that Mbappe doesn't. Everyone knows who Kylian Mbappe is, but Neymar is up there with Ronaldo and Messi as the most recognisable footballers of the modern era as we record. So he will be that immediate winner for you. There's no sale involved in Neymar.
And he could have a World Cup under his belt by the time the summer finishes.
Either one of them could, to be honest.
Very true, very true. And as we said, Real Madrid love signing World Cup stars.
Yeah. Whoever performs best gets a £250 million move to Real Madrid. No pressure.
Fighting out for Real Madrid.
No pressure.
Let us know your predictions in the comments section and keep across goal for all the latest transfer news and gossip around Ronaldo's potential move either to Juventus or further afield.